You know what can be hard to accept is that another nation, a powerful nation, is attacking you. It can be hard as Americans to accept that, and because we're going to talk about China here and how they're ingrained with us, but they're attacking us and how they're our enemy. And we have lived our lives. I've lived 42 years, but it doesn't matter how old you are. Watching this show, you've lived your life knowing that America is relatively safe from attack. Now, obviously, I understand about 9/11. I understand about Pearl Harbor. I understand these attacks that have happened at various times, but I'm talking another nation state invading and attacking. We don't even think about such things. That's how other people in many countries around the world, that's how they have to live their lives every day. Every day they wake up, are we being invaded? But here in America, that's just not a thought we have, right? No one does that to us. We're so big, we're so powerful, we have these big oceans, we're fine, right? We're fine. But the truth is there are so many different ways to wage war. It's not all bombs and bullets and things like that. And let me tell you something before we get to China. In fact, this is going to come into play. This is a tale as old as time, but it is true. When you wage a war, before the bombs or bullets start flying, you can accomplish so much. In fact, you can win a war practically before anybody fires a shot. A real Sun Tzu type thinking there, as long as we're doing a Chinese special. What's a good example of this? Well, Genghis Khan is a great example. One of probably history's greatest general, if we're being honest, strategically. Guy comes in, he takes over really everything, just dominates everybody. But how did he do that? Is it just because him and his men were so tough, those Mongols? Well, yes, they were very tough, but the truth is, long before Genghis Khan showed up with his army outside of your city and battered down the walls and killed every man, woman, and child, Genghis Khan ensured that he would win. Do you know how he did this? It wasn't sexy. It wasn't arrows and swords and horses. Genghis Khan would infiltrate your city. He would send his men into your city. And what they would do is they would get involved in your economy, finding out what makes your economy go. What ways is your economy vulnerable? If there was, let's say, a fire that broke out at this factory, would it hurt your ability to defend yourself? His infiltrators would infiltrate the political process of your city. They would find out, what are these internal divisions? Do these guys hate these guys and those guys hate these guys? Hey, I wonder if we got involved and started making sure they really hate each other. I wonder if we could weaken the foundations of this place before the Mongol army ever showed up. You see, almost every time the Mongol intelligence service had won the war before the Mongolian hordes crossed the horizon. That's the truth. And that brings us to what China is doing here. China is not our ally. What's amazing about it is China doesn't really pretend to be our ally. They don't. China has published papers. We're not talking about secret communications we had to hack into and find here. China has published papers about their intention to take over as the #1 power in the world. They've even given us dates practically. 50 years from now, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. China intends to win. And because they intend to win, they've already infiltrated this country in horrible ways. Why do you think America's politicians, Democrat and Republican, oftentimes say things like, they're not even competing with them?
Fact is that I have met with Xi Jinping more than any other world leader has. I've had over 68 hours of private meetings, just he and I with simultaneous interpreters. I spent a lot of time with Xi Jinping when I was vice president and subsequent to that. And he once asked me in the Tibetan Plateau, could I define America for him? And I mean this sincerely, not a joke. I said, yes, one word, possibilities. I've allegedly met more face-to-face with Xi Jinping than any world leader has. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping. I've spent a lot of time with Xi Jinping, someone whom I have a great deal of difference with. And I was when I was vice president, my president told me that he wanted me to get to know Xi Jinping because it was clear he was going to be the head of Russia, of China.
That's interesting, isn't it? We love China, spend so much time with China. But it's not just Joe Biden. I don't want you to think it's just a Joe Biden thing. I remember I had a Chinese expert tell me one time, he said, you know what America's politicians, do you know what their reputation is in China? I said, what? What is it? He said, their reputation is they're cheap. Meaning China has already blackmailed and bribed our politicians. It's not just Joe Biden. Gavin Newsom, he loves meeting with Xi too.
But I want to applaud the Biden administration, and on the basis of the engagement I had today with members of the Xi administration, President Xi himself, I want to applaud his willingness to reconcile those differences, people-to-people exchange. The fact he's meeting with the governor of California at the subnational level, I think is indicative of a thaw.
What a great guy, that Xi Jinping. How infiltrated are we? Well, I need to explain something to you. You know, the House of Representatives, they have different committees, right? There'll be the Ways and Means Committee, the Armed Services Committee, different committees. And they have an Intelligence Committee. If you ever find yourself on Capitol Hill, you'll know when you get by the House Intelligence Committee room. Why? It's the one that looks like Fort Knox. Endless security, screening to even get into there. Why is that the case? Because they discuss highly sensitive, highly classified information about the United States of America, our intelligence, our military capabilities, what we know about our enemies. Eric Swalwell sits on the House Intelligence Committee, and he slept with a Chinese spy.
Uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
He also farted on television. Slept with a Chinese spy. He never got busted for it. She escaped, and he still sits on the House Intelligence Committee. And, you know, to wrap up my point here, because we have such a big show, we have so many guests I want to get to, maybe the best way I can explain this is, you know what a spy balloon is? You know what a spy balloon does? A spy balloon, it's very obvious. Obviously, it's above, it's overhead. It can take better pictures than a satellite can, because satellites are way, way up there, right? China sent a spy balloon to the United States of America. We detected this spy balloon over Alaska, over the Pacific Ocean. We knew all this. They told Joe Biden, they told military leadership that China was spying on us. This spy balloon, we now know, was doing figure eights over our military bases, gathering up all kinds of critical information. Not only did we not shoot it down until it made the Atlantic, when asked about it, the president tried to say, I don't know, is that some kid's balloon? It must be private.
The intelligence community's current assessment is that these three objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research.
Obviously, he's lying. You know that. Why would he lie? Why would the president, why would our military leadership allow the communist Chinese to spy so brazenly on us? Because they're all compromised. I'm worried that Genghis Khan already has his infiltrators here. And I worry what may happen one day when the Chinese hordes show up over the horizon. Are our own people going to open the gates? Certainly looks like it.